Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. I am Joey Francis, your life, love, and relationship coach. Thank you so much for joining me. Too much too soon. Are we having the tough conversations sooner than we should be? That is a great question. Now, if you want the short answer, no, we aren't. In fact, I think we should have these tough conversations right away. See, we aren't getting any younger, and the tough conversations are essentially what our deal breakers are, what the red flags are, the things that we're looking for in a person, the things that we want in a relationship, how we want to be treated. And I've mentioned it pretty much at least once per episode minimum that we need to know, or at least have a very good idea of what we want, have a very good idea of what we don't want, how we want to be treated, and what we're ready for. And the tough conversations are essentially going to lead us there, right? They're going to save us the time from getting to know somebody that we shouldn't be getting to know, essentially. Now you're going to ask, what exactly is the tough conversations? Or maybe you're not going to ask that, but I'm going to tell you anyways, because on the surface level, we are doing this. At least I hope that we're doing this for the most part, because we're talking about, like I mentioned, red flags. So are you a partier? Do you drink a lot? Like, what's your drinking habits like? What's your social habits like? Are you going to nightclubs and bars like consistently? And then someone might answer with, not really. As I've gotten older, I tend to just go to like nightclubs and bars on friends' birthdays or like the odd time, but I'm more of a restaurant guy, that sort of thing. And you might ask somebody, what are your thoughts on kids? Because again, we're talking about people that are a little bit older. Some people might be separated, which they shouldn't really be dating. Like seriously dating, not dating. And because they should get their houses in order. Anyways, what's your idea on kids? Some people might be separated or divorced and have kids already and aren't looking to add more to their flock, so to speak. And this is a big deal, because if you want kids and the other person doesn't, or vice versa, obviously it's a no-go. It's just an automatic no-go. You might ask somebody whether or not they use drugs or recreational drugs, and somebody might look at you and say, well, no, but that depends. Like, do you count marijuana? And I don't know, do you count marijuana as being a drug? I mean, considering it's legal, because if we're talking about legal drugs, then there's also alcohol, which I mentioned earlier about the whole partying and drinking thing. And then there's also nicotine if you're a smoker. So depending on how they answer, you obviously have to figure out, is this something that you want and can live with, et cetera, because there's not only a matter of like smoking marijuana, they can also do edibles, and maybe that's not a big bother to you, right? And it's these tough questions that essentially are going to paint a picture of whom you're talking to and whom you're getting to know. And more importantly, can you be around them? Can you live with them? Can you have them in your life? Because if you're somebody who doesn't like smoke around you, for instance, and I know a lot of people don't, well, if they smoke cigarettes or smoke marijuana, then the answer is probably going to be a no. And it's literally that simple. This is why we need to have these conversations sooner rather than later, right? But this even goes further than this, because part of what you should be asking is also value-based. And this is where we get into the questions that might be a little too tough for some people to ask, or they might think that it's too personal. And I'm going to tell you right now, when it's coming to getting to know someone for the reasons of dating, having a relationship with, there's no such thing as too personal, okay? I'm giving you full permission to have that conversation with someone, and if they don't like it, too bad. Then obviously they're not for you, because they can't answer the questions you need answered straight up. Think about values, right? Religion. That's a big one, right? Because some people are extremely religious, and in those cases, chances are what's going to work for them is somebody with the same or very, very, very similar beliefs and who are just as not devout as they are. And take my word for it, from my own experience, that it definitely plays a role, because I have in my past dated women of different religions. Now, the thing is I'm not the most religious guy in the world, and I really don't necessarily care about other people's beliefs. And I mean, I even say this in my book, because obviously, my stance on the idea of fate, that it's bullshit. Some people, they pray, they go to church, they have a deep love for their beliefs and their religion, and that's fine. That's okay. It doesn't bother me. If there is something in your life that improves your life and makes you happy, then who is anybody to say anything about it? Again, provided you're not hurting yourself or other people. Disclaimer, because this is the society we live in. Nonetheless, having this conversation right off the bat is important. I'm going to tell you just a quick story. I have a bunch of stories for you today. So this was, I don't know, maybe like 2 years ago, I think. Something along those lines. Or a year ago, maybe. I matched with this girl online, started talking, and on her profile, it didn't say that she was religious at all. It said that she was spiritual. Now, because I bring this stuff up, because it is important to me, I always ask, what does being spiritual mean to you, right? Again, because I don't know if it's in someone interested in like ritual killings or some other weird shit that I'm just not into. So you need to ask these questions. This is the point of having to ask these questions. And she told me that she used to be Muslim, but was kind of getting reacquainted with her Islamic roots and, getting back into it. And I'm like, okay, that's fair. That's your choice. And then what ended up happening is she started trying to convert me, which it's like, that's just an automatic, see you later, we're done here, I appreciate you trying to save my soul, but my soul is perfectly fine where it is. And like sending me YouTube video links and saying like, you should watch this. And I mean, a lot of the conversation was sparked because of my book, Fate is Bullshit. And I know it's a very touchy subject for some people and a little controversial. But I think, a pretty good job of explaining it in the book. And even saying things like, if you go to church or to temple or to wherever and you pray and whatever the case is, and it makes your life better, then, you're better for doing it. So even though my personal belief is that faith is bullshit, not faith, fate. Like, you can have all the faith in the world. It's a good thing to have, but not fate we're talking about. That's my belief, and I explain it in the book and explain what it means and how it works and why it works and etc. etc. So she tried to convert me. Obviously that wasn't going to work, and I had to end that right then and there. So having these types of conversations, this is why I say it's important, because let's imagine we never had that conversation. And because she understood where I was coming from, because of my book and other things that I talk about on my beliefs, and we never really dove deep, it could have been a month, 2 months, 5 months, 6 months, who knows? Depending on how two people are, or how they feel and how open they are, whether or not they're going to discuss such things. And it might happen that within 6 months, 7 months, 8 months, even a year, maybe certain questions like that are being avoided. And I understand you're going to be like, what do you mean being avoided? Why would someone avoid those kinds of questions? Because they like the other person. And rather than ruffling feathers, so to speak, and causing an issue in the relationship that we're building, because we like someone, we turn a blind eye. And we're like, you know what? If I don't have this conversation, then it's not not like it's not a part of this, right? If I just ignore it, it never happened. If it's not posted on Instagram, it's not real, as they say. And so I'm gonna tell you another story. This is literally the last girl that I was just talking to, again, matched online. Everything was going fantastic. And within a couple of days, I brought up the question about kids. Now, she was in her early 40s, married, divorced, never had kids. And just to be sure, because you don't want to assume, because you know the whole, you assume, you make an ass out of you and me, that saying that everybody's been saying for like a billion years. Yeah. So I brought it up. Like, what are your thoughts on kids? And her answer was, I've come to the conclusion that I may not be a mother, but I am open to being a mom. I'm open to it. Like, I'm open to having kids. And I don't want them. You know, I've come to the decision in my life that I'm good. You know, I have nephews, I have friends with kids, and I don't want them. I don't think it's a secret that I don't want them, but I don't want them. And this bothered her. This really bothered her. And I mean, listen, it's fine, right? Difference of values. Should have pulled the plug. It should have ended right there. But just to continue with the story, it bothered her not only because I didn't want kids. It bothered her because she believes that you cannot make a decision like that for the rest of your life. That who knows, anything can happen. And I mean, to some degree, I understand that anything can happen. But we're talking about something that you have to make happen. Like, this isn't, you know, you wake up one morning and boom, there's kids in your life. You have to do something for those kids to happen. So for me, it was, I've thought about it. It took me a long time to come to this conclusion, but I don't want them. And again, she's like, how can you say that? How can you make a decision for the rest of your life? And it's like, it's very simple. I wanted them when I was younger. Life didn't take me down that path, or, you know, my life choices didn't end up me having a family, which is fine. Again, my own choices. I own them, right? I am, what's the word I was looking for? Jesus Louise. I am responsible. I am accountable. I am accountable for my life choices, and this is where it's taken me, and that's perfectly fine. And I don't want them. And then she kept pressing. She's like, you know what? The fact that you don't want kids doesn't even bother me. What bothers me is that you can make a decision like this for the rest of your life. And it's like, I'm sorry, that doesn't even compute to me. So I absurdly asked her, do you want a threesome? And she said to me, no. I go, did you ever want a threesome? And she said, no. And I'm like, so you're choosing to never have a threesome for the rest of your life? Like, you don't want it. It's not for you. And she said, no, but that's different. I'm like, how is it different? How is that different? One day you might wake up and think to yourself, I want a threesome. Why are you saying today you don't want one? And I know the question's absurd. Now, she rebutted with, oh, but it's different because that's a moral question. And it's like, no, it's not different. The reason being is because it is something that you know you don't want. It's something you've never wanted. It's something that you know for the rest of your life you can live without it. You don't want it. It is exactly the same thing for me when it comes to kids. I wanted them. I changed my mind. I don't want them anymore. I've come to like sound decision. It took me a long time to think about it. This is where I stand. And after that conversation, I'm thinking, this is it. We're done here. This has to be over, because at this point we're almost arguing with each other, right? And funny enough, she says to me, no, I like you. I'll think about it. And it's like, think about what? What's there to think about? Now, because I found her attractive and I enjoyed talking to her, and aside from this one conversation, it's like, okay, like an idiot, like an idiot. I should have walked away. I should have taken my own advice. The advice that I always tell you guys, if somebody isn't what you want, and that includes values, that includes having these tough conversations, that's it. You know, they're not it, move on. Despite them having qualities you might like in them. And I didn't do that. Shame on me. Shame on me. So a couple days go by and we go out. First time, and again, fantastic. She's just as gorgeous as she was in her photos, and the conversation was just as incredible as it was leading up to this date. But here we go again. It reared its ugly head, this question again. And she's again saying the fact that, you know, how can I decide something like that for the rest of my life? And it's like, it doesn't compute to me that you don't understand this. Like, she's an intelligent person, a very emotionally intelligent person. How is it not possible for you to understand that I don't want something? And for me, I get it. I get where this is coming from, because she probably likes me and she finds me attractive, and she just wants me to be on the same page as her, because she wants that option of possibly having kids. Where for me, it's no option. You're going to date me, it's no option. It's done. And on that date night, this obviously came up again. And it's like, okay, you know what? I'm pulling the plug now. This is it. We're done here, because this is silly. This is silly, you know? We obviously have a difference in views. We have a difference in how we see our futures. So, and again, shame on me, because I should have done it earlier. And this is my point, that even me, the person that gives you guys the advice, even I fall suspect to, you know, finding somebody, liking them, and then overlooking certain things because you like them, because you find them attractive. Now, to tie that with the topic of this week, if you don't have these conversations right away, what ends up happening? Well, it's going to hurt a lot more. A month might go by, 2 months might go by, 3 months might go by. And the longer time goes by and the greater the connection you build with another human being, the harder it's going to be to rip off that Band-Aid. And this is why I'm telling you that if there are things that are important to you, you discuss them right away. I'm going to tell you another story. And this is sort of like the exact opposite of what happened to me. So a girlfriend of mine was out and about, and believe it or not, ladies and gentlemen, she met a guy the old-fashioned way out in public. Now, not what you're thinking, though. It's what I've said, where as women out in the world, it's okay for you to be the one that approaches a guy, to initiate conversation. And that's exactly what she did. She noticed this guy, stealing glances at her. And she finally said, screw it. Walked up to him and said, I noticed you looking at me. And this guy, I applaud him, because he took it. He took his chance, because not everybody would, especially when it comes to a woman coming up to a guy. Not all guys are forthright enough to be like, okay, I have an opportunity here. Let's do this. And he took his opportunity and he started chatting her up, and he told her straight out, yeah, I noticed you. I find you really attractive. And obviously I'm paraphrasing. And he's like, the only reason that I didn't want to approach you, and this is something for us to think about and talk about, is that I see a beautiful woman. My assumption, because of our age, is that she's married with kids, or at least has a boyfriend at the very least. And you know what? That is a very viable reason for you not to go talking to someone, especially out and about, because you don't know if there's a husband or a boyfriend lurking around. And especially today, where sometimes people have to like puff up their chest and be like, why are you talking to my girlfriend? It's like, listen, relax, okay? Didn't know, honest mistake, go back with your life, okay? You don't need to fight or, claim your ground. Shit happens. This is the problem when you're gonna have a hot girlfriend, or you're gonna have a girlfriend in general. There are gonna be guys that are gonna see her and find her attractive, and maybe those guys have the balls to go talk to her. You should be feeling privileged to be with such a beautiful woman that other guys want. That's what you should be feeling. There's no need for you to puff up your chest and claim your territory. Honest mistake, that's that. Now, if a guy keeps being creepy and weird and shit, then by all means, knock his teeth out. But if it's like hey, how's it going, blah, blah, blah. Hey, why are you talking to my girl like that? Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't know she was your girl. It's done. Let them walk away. Anyways, this guy presumed that such a beautiful girl would have a boyfriend or a husband because she was obviously there with her friends and her kids. And that's a safe assumption. I know it's not assuming makes an ass out of you and me, but this type of assumption is for your own personal safety. So yeah, make that assumption. But because she went up to him, things were clarified. Everything was fantastic. They started talking. Everything was going wonderful. And you know what? She started asking the tough questions. I don't know if it's necessarily because she talks to me and I tell her these things, or if it's just within her. I'm gonna pretend and take the credit for it, at least a little bit. But she asks him about his, political viewing. She asks him about his religious standing and things that are important to her. And believe it or not, he was excited to have these conversations with her. He was excited to open up to her. Because when you have tough conversations, whether it's day 1, day 300, or day 1000, tough conversations are giving two people the opportunity to grow together and to become closer, provided the answers, are seen eye to eye. If not, then it gives you the opportunity to think, hey, am I with the right person? How important is this to me? And then you have to ask yourself these questions. And hopefully you aren't jaded by the time that you've already spent with them, like I did. Even though it was only a couple of days, that couple of days could have been months. Could have been who knows how long. Could have been years. And then it comes up, right? So what I want you to get from the story is that be honest, be forthright, and have the tough conversations sooner rather than later. Because it is going to either bring you closer to another person, especially when you're getting to know them. The whole idea is to get close to them, right? Is to learn about them. So why not start with the things that are most important to you versus not? And being in my situation where even when I asked the question, she said to me, I've never really even thought about that, because when you think about kids, you obviously have to have someone. So having someone is the first thing on my mind. And it's like, okay, but how do you choose someone? What if someone doesn't want kids like me? How do you think about that, right? You have to have these conversations. You have to think about these things first and foremost. We're talking about the rest of our lives here. Okay, we're not 16 years old. We're not 20 years old. We're not 25. We're not even 30. I mean, some of you out there might be. But why waste time? Even if you are 30, even if you are 25, why waste time? If you know what you're looking for, why waste time? Stop wasting time. Let's just get to the point so that we understand each other. We know if we mesh or not. And then we can grow together and live happily ever after. And that's it. That's simple. Now, funny enough, there was another person that I was just talking to, a new friend of mine, so to speak. Now she is 50 years old, beautiful 50-year-old, but 50 years old. And she was married and had kids, and, she has some past traumas that she hasn't exactly dealt with. But nonetheless, I was talking to her about this sort of stuff because of her dating history, her dating hygiene. And she said it to me straight out. But I don't know what I want. And it's like, okay. I mean, I guess obviously that can be a thing, right? Despite your age, you would think that, oh, okay, well, you would think that someone in her position would have a good idea of what you want, considering how long she's lived on this planet and her experiences. But she didn't know what she wanted. And she said to me, she's like, I don't really know what I want. And in these types of situations, it's like, okay, are you out there meeting people and dating for the purpose of having, a long-term relationship? Or are you dating for other reasons, like to explore and have fun? And when I say have fun, I don't mean sex. We have to honestly take these two meanings away from each other, okay? Because having fun is literally meeting someone who is great to talk to, that you can have laughs with and joke around with, go out, have a drink with or have dinner with, and just have a great night. That's having fun. It doesn't necessarily mean that you need to have sex, but nonetheless, she said that she didn't understand really what she wanted. And it's like, okay. Now, talking to her more, and for me getting to know her a little bit better now so that I can sort of help her on this journey, it starts to find out okay, she's dating a guy that's a certain nationality, lives life a certain way. And she comes to the realization that this guy's really different. And even though she enjoys her time with him, they're just too different. And it's like, okay, I mean, it's understandable. And again, depending on what you're doing, what you want, and how you're dating, starting off from the beginning, what are you ready for? And this is what she's ready for. Essentially casually dating, not sex, casually dating, getting to know people and experience new things. Now she experienced this thing. This guy obviously wanted something more. And she's very confused by it because on one end, when they're alone and together, they have, great time. But when they're living their lives, their lifestyles are extremely different. And it's like, okay, well, I'm going to tell you, a relationship can work, but it has to work on both parties being open to the other and learning about each other's lifestyles. It's essentially trying to find common ground and mesh it together so that it works for both parties. But generally speaking, especially as we get older, no. Different is not going to work. That's the reason why your friends are your friends, because your friends are like you. You know that saying, show me who your friends are and I'll tell you who you are? Along those lines. It is along those lines. And different or extremely different, as in when people's lifestyles are extremely different, chances are it's not going to end up working. And that's okay, because at least for her in her case, this is exactly what she wanted. She wanted to meet people, have a good time, learn, experience new things. And within her experiencing these things, a guy of a different nationality, living life differently, she starts to learn more things about herself. And granted, something you should have done when you were younger, but this is when she's doing it and she's learning. And she's coming into more clarity of the things that are more important to her, of the things that she's, looking for in another human being. And for you people out there that are younger, this is what dating is. This is exactly what dating is. You find someone that you're attracted to, you enjoy talking to. It doesn't matter if they're from the opposite side of the tracks or not. You go out with them, you learn, you explore, and you start to figure out more about what you want. And that's just what it really comes down to. And as you learn about what you want, when it comes to the point of having a serious relationship with somebody, now you have that blueprint. You have that list of the things that are important to you. And exactly like, the person that's 50 years old out there exploring and learning, even her being upfront and honest, again, tough conversations. Hey, this is where I'm at in my life. You're being transparent with someone. You're giving them the option to be with you, right? I'm not looking for something serious. I'm looking for new experiences, and I'm not talking about sex. I'm looking for new experiences. I'm looking to meet new people, different people, some people to show me to new things, to try new things. And her having these conversations right away, it is stopping anyone that is essentially looking for something, or should be stopping anyone that's someone that's looking for something deeper and more permanent. Because obviously she's not it. And that's that. They can move on to somebody else, and she can move on to somebody else that's more in a position like her, that's looking to just live life and explore and have fun. And eventually someday, maybe her mind will change and she'll want someone long term, or maybe not, because she was married for quite some time, had family, had kids, did the whole thing. And now she's enjoying her freedom, so to speak. So everybody's life is different, and everybody wants different things. And everybody's life takes them down different paths based on their choices. But this is the place where we have control of the outcome. And I know some of you might think like, no, we don't, because we're dealing with other people. Yeah, we are dealing with other people. But you still have the control of what's the outcome. Because if you find someone whom you enjoy talking to and find attractive, and then find out that they're too different than you, well, it's up to you to either stay or walk. It's your choice, It's your choice. So you have control over that outcome. And I suggest that you learn from my mistakes and learn from other people's successes, like my girlfriend that approached the guy. Because the ladies out there, if you're listening to this, start to approach men. It doesn't take a lot. A glance, a smile, even saying hi, hey, and let them take it from there. Essentially unlocking the door and opening it a crack. It's like, this is what I'm doing for you. Now you walk in and take it from here. And have these tough conversations. Have them right away. And I know there's something to be said about the whole idea of people trauma dumping. And there's a term for it. I forget what it was. And I'm sort of on the fence about this personally, because in some retrospect, it's like someone telling you exactly who they are, what they've been through, what they expect, what they want out of life. It can be overwhelming. I get it. But at the same time, as we get to know each other over time, none of these answers are essentially going to change. These are in concrete. This is someone's past. This is who they are. So if they want to tell you about, how their marriage went, or why it ended, or why they got divorced, I don't know. Because I know, speaking with some girlfriends of mine, where they love to talk and they trauma dump on people. And in some situations, it's like no big deal, where the guy is like open to like listening and learning. In some other situations, then the guy does the exact same thing, and then they sort of build a trauma bond with each other, because their whole relationship, at least in the beginning, is based on us sharing these deep parts of our life. So not the greatest. This is why I'm on the fence about it, right? And then in other situations, somebody will get scared and be like, whoa, too much too soon. But again, it's not like any of these answers are going to change. This is who the person is. This is how their life went. So I'm on the fence about that one. Yeah, like even just thinking about it right now, like, I don't know if you should do it. I don't know if you should not do it. That's something I think you just have to decide for yourself. Read the room, I think what it comes down to is that if somebody's truly interested in you, finds you attractive, and is really enjoying their time with you, even if it just means like texting, video chatting, phone call, or in person, whatever the case is, I think that they would want to learn things about you, things that are important. And I do understand too, whether or not, and this is hilarious little story. It's short. Whether or not we accept people has a lot to do with how attractive or how attracted we are to them. Okay. So another girlfriend of mine, she's right now sort of a little bit angry and frustrated with the whole dating game. And she sends me a screenshot of what a guy messaged her. And the guy wrote down like, "Oh my God, you're the most beautiful girl I've seen on this app so far." And blah, blah, blah. And he's like, just like buttering her up, right? And she's like, "Look at this. Look at this. This is disgusting. Look at this." And it's like, okay, to me, it doesn't even seem that bad. I mean, if a girl sent this message to me, I'd be like, "Oh my God, that's like the sweetest thing ever." Like, even if I wasn't attracted to her, I would still recognize, the courage and the fact of everything that she said. But she was like not having it. And then there was a guy that she ended up matching with, and he sent her a voice note. And that voice note was like, "This isn't the first time that I swiped right on you. I swiped right on you and nothing happened. And then I got fed up with online dating and I deleted my apps and my account. And then I went back on and I swiped on you again and nothing happened." And now, okay, in this guy's case, it's like, dude, maybe you should keep this stuff to yourself. Because if you're reminding a woman that you swiped on her and she didn't swipe back on you, maybe you shouldn't remind her these things, because she might just be like, "Oh, I didn't like you. Obviously there was a reason I didn't like you, so I should just keep not liking you and go. Bye." But nonetheless, again, she was upset about this, about guys being like this open and professing their attraction to her. And then she tells me about a guy that she did like. And I'm like, okay, like, what's his story? And she's like, "Oh, he's got 3 kids," which is fine because she has 2 of her own. And, he recently found God, so to speak. And she was like, "I'm not really that religious, I'm not practicing, but I do have a belief system, blah, 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 blah." And she's like telling me like, okay. And it's like, okay, red flag. And he was in jail. And she didn't tell me why he was in jail, so I really don't know. But okay, he was in jail. Like, that's like a yellow flag, maybe, depending on what's the reason that he went to jail for. Did he go to jail because he like beat his wife or something, or was it because he like didn't pay his speeding ticket and skipped court? It's like, it doesn't take much to go to jail, if you know. And there was a bunch of other like a sort of red flags that kept popping up. But she's like, "Oh my God, his eyes, and he looks like such a kind human being. He has like the kindest eyes, and he's like so adorable." And I'm like, oh, this is interesting. So a guy professing his love for you. I know this is like completely off topic, but I just found it hilarious. So a guy professing his love for you, not what you're looking for, right? A guy telling you that he's liked you for some time, that he's swiped right on you more than once, you're not having that either. But a guy that went to jail and apparently found God and is very devout despite you not being that religious and all the other things that have come up, that's okay? That's okay. It's a little bit crazy when you think about it, right? Because at the end of the day, if somebody's attracted to you, they're going to overlook certain things. And this is what I warn you people about. This is why, to tie it back in, you need to have the tough conversations and you need to stick to your blueprint. Okay? Because if you don't stick to the blueprint, and you get caught up in someone's eyes or the sound of their voice, or how they talk to you, whatever the case is. If you don't stick to the blueprint, it's only your fault at the end of the day. So when this relationship inevitably ends because these red flags just keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger to the point that you're like, shit, what did I get myself into? It is your own fault. And this brings back that story of the scorpion and the frog. And I've said it a few times on this podcast. It's also in my book. And I suggest you read that book as well as my guided journal so you can learn about yourself and learn about the things that you're looking for and learn about the things that are important to you. But again, it's your own fault after the fact. So rather than these things being a mystery to you, talk to somebody. And you know what? For the guys that are listening, because I don't know what men's profiles look online when it comes to online dating. I mean, I kind of have an idea because girlfriends of mine will like share screenshots of profiles with me and ask me questions about it. But my knowledge there is very, very, very limited. But when it comes to women's profiles, obviously, because that's what I'm looking at. Guys, if you're listening to this and you've made it this far in the podcast, thank you so much. Women tend to write on their profiles, they don't like small talk. They like deep conversations. So I'm just going to appease you and let's have a deep conversation. What are your thoughts on having kids? Where do your political stance lie? What's important to you in life? What are important values to you in life? And let's get deep on this and let's figure this shit out right away, right off the bat. Instead of, what's your sign? Oh my God, that's so crazy. Like, our signs match. I don't believe in any of that shit, just so you know. Or like, oh my God, my weekend, yeah. Like, don't get me wrong, how someone spends their evenings and weekends is just as important, right? Because does it align with your lifestyle? Lifestyles are important, right? Do our lifestyles match? Having the deep conversations about it. So I think I'm just going to cut it off there. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for listening. If by any chance you have something to say to me, feel free. You can go to www. There's no www. I don't know why I keep saying that. I guess it's just like me being old. I'm not that old. JoeyFrancis.com. That's JoeyFrances.com. And there you can buy my books. I think you should buy my books. You should really buy my books. And if you don't like to read my main book, Fate is Bullshit, A Logical Guide to Happiness, there's an audiobook of me just doing this. So you can listen to it. Do that. And you should do the workbook, The Logic of Me, a guided journal for self-discovery. I think it's important. Anyways, there you can also send me an email and reach out to me and we can talk about this, right? You can tell me your stories. I can tell you some more of mine. We can be friends. It'd be great. Again, thank you so much for listening. I honestly really, really, really appreciate it. And I hope you'll join me again next week. I don't know if I should be saying this, but everybody else does, and it appears to, subscribe and hit the bell button so that you're notified for my next episode, which essentially is going to be Friday at 8 a.m. because it's always at Friday at 8 a.m. Thank you so much once again. And I'm going to tell you this. Go out into the world. Know what you're looking for and have the tough conversations with people. I promise it'll bring you closer, if not, provide you with more clarity. Until next time.